Thank you. So I'll just share my screen then, and we can get started. So thank you for joining me today at this workshop about task-based and content-oriented teaching. I'll be showing you some practical ideas and materials today. So I will be doing this workshop in English. You are, of course, welcome to ask any questions or make any comments in whatever language you choose. Let's speak some Denglish today. I'm looking forward to working with you for the next hour. So we'll pick up from where Vera Traga's keynote left off with task-based language learning and teaching. We'll look at an example that we have created at the PH Steiermark. What can communicative teaching look like at the primary level? Then we'll move on to the CLIL collection from the ÖSZ called Welcome to School. Perhaps you know it, full of wonderful ideas for the first grade, teaching English in other subjects. And we'll follow that by looking at the übergreifendes Thema Verbraucherinnenbildung. How can I work on this topic with a picture book? So we'll be looking at the tail of the toothbrush before we have about 5 minutes at the end for any questions or comments. So we've got a lot to do today. Let's get started. So continuing on with what is a task? We've seen some examples today, and I would like to continue by showing you some specifically for the primary level. So first, a short review. What is a task? Well, tasks are meaningful, communicative activities where language is used in context. So perhaps solving problems, maybe going on a scavenger hunt and following directions to find a chocolate egg before Easter, perhaps, or sharing opinions. And at the primary level, sharing opinions can be as simple as, what's your favorite? So what's your favorite animal? My favorite animal is a hedgehog. What about you? So this is open-ended and unpredictable. You probably didn't think my favorite animal was a hedgehog. So we have to exchange this real information. We have to interact with each other and in order to do this task. Or perhaps, what is your fantasy school? What's your ideal school? We have to talk with each other and plan that in order to complete this task. So what is not a task? Well, non-tasks are controlled and predictable. So if I show a picture of a hedgehog and I have a word, hedgehog, there's only one correct answer. So we already know what the outcome will be. And the focus is on accuracy, on getting it right. Not that that's a bad thing. So we'll see in these examples here, what can we do with that? So we have here some pictures of different means of transportation, and then at the bottom, the words. So task or not task? Well, it's helpful for practicing vocabulary in order to maybe later complete a task. So maybe telling me about your way to school, creating the best way to school. I don't know, some kind of fantasy vehicle or something, but it's not a task. There's only one correct answer. So going back here, we see it's controlled, it's predictable. There is one correct answer. So we're focused on accuracy. If we go to this next example here, we see a weather report. And we're a big group, so I'll reveal the answer. It is also not a task. This is an exercise. So we listen to someone speaking, probably a weather report, and then we tick the correct box. So there's only one correct answer. Next one. So this is also from the ÖSZ. All of these examples are from the ÖSZ website. We see here, can you make up your own weather report and read it on TV? So here we see it's not controlled. It's very open-ended. I have no idea what the kids will come up with. There's a lot of opportunity for creativity, maybe bringing some props, maybe coming up with some crazy weather. But we needed to practice the other language first. So it helps us a lot when we have learned the vocabulary in an exercise. We can then work with the language creatively and make some tasks. So we're talking about task-based teaching. It doesn't mean that we have to say goodbye to exercises. So they are also important. They're useful to practice the forms or the vocabulary that we need for a task. It also helps us to practice accuracy in a controlled environment. So I can really work with, for example, the picture cards or with a text or other things, and I can practice how to use the language in a controlled way. This will also build my confidence because I feel that I know what I'm doing when working with that topic. It also provides a chance for us to have scaffolding available to the kids who still need it. So if I've matched, for example, the weather words on the board, maybe a child has forgotten some of them, then they are able to look up at the cards that we used for the exercise and they can better complete the task. Also, for us as teachers, it helps us to see where extra practice is needed. So as the kids are doing some exercises, we can go around or we can listen carefully and see, I think we need to practice that a bit more before the kids can use the language creatively and authentically. So to sum up, a task is learner-oriented. Ideally, we think about our learners' needs, backgrounds, interests, and hobbies, and we relate it to their real world. So in the keynote, we had this weather diary, and that was real life weather. So the weather of the town or of the place where the children live. It also involved a gap or challenge in that weather example we saw in the keynote. So what do you like to do when it's windy, for example? I have no idea what you like to do when it's windy. I have to ask you. So it's very much focused on meaning. If I ask a child, what do you like to do when it's windy? And a child says, I like to fly a drache. I can just repeat and say, oh, you like to fly a kite. Very cool. I didn't know that. So I'm focused on the meaning. I'm focused on the interaction. I'm focused on getting to know the kids in my class. I'm focused on the kids sharing information with each other. So the outcome is not, I learned 5 weather words. The outcome is, oh, I found out something new about my classmates. Or I did something with the language that wasn't just learning the language. So there is this checklist from teachingenglish.org, which I find quite helpful. So as you're planning your tasks for your classroom, these are some questions you can ask yourself. Is there a goal or an outcome other than learning the language, other than learning 7 words or whatever? Is there something else going on here? Does the activity relate to real world activities? What do my students like to do? What are their lives like? So seeing what is interesting for them so that they will be engaged and wanting to participate. And then we can also have this focus on meaning, where we are concerned about exchanging information with each other and making these real connections. So with that, I'd like to show you this Lernaufgabe we have from the PH Steiermark. And you can see here we've got some flashcards made using this clip art from Cute Bug Graphics. We did make the worksheet black and white, thinking that perhaps some schools would prefer to copy in black and white. So we have that there. And I'd like to show you what we're doing there. So we see this principle at work here. We have some exercises that lead to communicative activities. So we have the traditional way of teaching the vocabulary. We learn the different items of fruit. And we also learn a structure through a song. So thinking back to the keynote, we've got these zentrale fachliche Konzepte. We've got Kommunikation und Wirkung. We've got Bedeutung und Form. So we learn the form. I like to eat is what we'll learn. We learn that form. We sing it and practice it in the song. We learn the words, the fruit words, so that we can communicate, so that we see that our language learning has an effect. So Kommunikation und Wirkung and Bedeutung und Form. So when we have learned this form, when we know the meaning of the words, we can make a communicative activity possible, and we can communicate our authentic likes and dislikes and interests. We've also got some math at the bottom of this worksheet where the children can see how many people like or don't like a certain fruit, or in the other version, what is the favorite fruit of the most people. So we can also incorporate that. And we'll see that there's no hierarchy of language skills in the activity. So the words are underneath the fruit pictures. Children can write each other's names if they're able, if they're ready. If they're not, we as teachers can differentiate for that. So perhaps the children aren't ready to write other classmates' names, but they can write their own name. So perhaps they write their own name on someone else's paper. Maybe they draw a picture of the fruit, or they draw a line to the fruit because they are on the side of the interview paper. So we can accommodate for them at the first or second grade, so at this level, while still accommodating those who are able so that they can practice those skills already. So going back to task-based teaching, the goal is to find out our classmates' preferences. So it's a goal beyond using the language. We could make this task even more concrete. Maybe we are planning a summer fest, for example, and we want to see what some good ideas in terms of fruit would be. So what fruit should we take to the summer fest? Maybe it's the teacher's birthday and they want to know which fruit should I bring for a snack to share. So we can make it more concrete depending on our class. So at the PH Stmk, we decided to do a very general activity, but we can make it even more task-based in our classes. So let's have a look at the lesson plan. So we see here, it's this Lernaufgabe here on your Padlet. You can download it from the Padlet. And we have the Kompetenzraster here, how this fits in to the Kompetenzraster, which competences the children are developing here. We also have two versions of the song, one with the lyrics, with someone with me singing along, and the karaoke version so that you and the children can sing your own lyrics. So we have some suggestions here for how to introduce the topic. Probably something you have done yourself before. Maybe you take some toy fruit to school, or you have some real fruit with a feely bag that the kids feel around in and try to guess what is inside. Maybe you use the flashcards in the material packet. Maybe you draw it on the board and the children guess it. Many different ways. Maybe they read your lips and try to figure out the words you're saying. Many different possibilities. But what's important is that while we're learning the words, we're also practicing the structure already. So we, as the role model, can already start providing the structure. So if I show an apple, I can say, oh, I like to eat apples. What about you? Do you like to eat them too? And the children can show me with a thumbs up or thumbs down, yes or no. If they can also tell me a full sentence. I accept all answers and as a role model can repeat them. So once we have repeated this structure quite a few times, then we are ready to sing the song together. So here it is.
I like to eat bananas. I like to eat bananas. What about you? Do you like to eat them too? I like to eat bananas. I like to eat bananas.
Okay, and then you can also ask, okay, what do you like to eat? Maybe watermelons or apples or whatever. So then you can sing, I like to eat apples, and so on with the karaoke version. Or if you like to play an instrument yourself, the chords are also there available. Yeah, so after we are finished the song, we have practiced that structure, I like to eat, and then we can move on to this communicative activity. So we made two versions for this because we thought at the first or second grade, what's your favorite would be easier to do. So what's your favorite fruit might be more accessible for the kids. So we could say, I like pears, I like oranges, I like bananas, but strawberries. Whew, strawberries are my favorite. What's your favorite? And then we could ask each other first as a group and then move on to this interview. And as I mentioned before, if the children can write their own name and others' names, they can. Otherwise, they can give their paper to the other child. They write their name and then draw a picture of the fruit or connect a line to the fruit so the kids can really do what they're capable of, what they're ready to do. And then we see here at the bottom, we can use this math activity to then see what the class generally likes. We can take this up together and find out what fruit we should take to the class party or to Summerfest or just in general. What are each other's preferences? And there are these scaffolds at the bottom, this Sprachhilfe. What's your favorite fruit? My favorite fruit is an apple. So, yeah, practicing that structure. For the older kids, we might want to stick with this I like to eat. What do you like to eat? So, what fruit do you like? For the older ones, because there would be, of course, more to keep track of, more to do there. Um, but yeah, same principle. The math at the bottom would also be a bit more complicated because you've got the likes and the dislikes, but the same principle here. Also the same idea with the scaffolds. Do you like bananas? Do you like apples? I like bananas, but I don't like apples. So that the kids who need that help have got it. So we see that at the primary level, we can do tasks. We can make real life communication. We have the exercises to learn the words, learn the structures. We, you know, play what's missing, read my lips, what other games, feely bag, whatever methods that you have that you prefer to use to learn the words. We practice the structure with a song, and then we move on to some communication. We can make a concrete task out of it by focusing on finding out about each other's preferences, or for a class party or Summerfest, if that's appropriate for your class. But with this, we can really make real communication happen at the pre-A1 or A1 level. So to sum up, we can use exercises to lead to tasks. So we can have tasks that relate to real life. So this communicative activity, I would call it, is related to the children's likes and dislikes or their favorites. But the main focus is on communication and interaction. So we want them to be speaking to each other, talking to each other. So thinking about task-based teaching, we can also connect that to content-oriented teaching. So task-based teaching is language-driven. When I'm thinking about tasks, I first think, what language structure am I working on? Do I want to talk about likes and dislikes? Do I want to talk about favorites? Do I want to talk about abilities? So I choose my structure. Do you like? What's your favorite? Can you? And then I think, which topic could I use for that language to make meaningful communication? And then I think, okay, what's your favorite? Well, I think I'll go with fruit this time. Let's talk about our favorite fruit. But we can use this task-based teaching as well in content-oriented teaching, although it's different because it is content driven. So in content-oriented teaching, I start with the content goals in mind. So if we take the weather activity from the keynote, for example, I wanted to observe the weather in my town. I wanted to learn about weather patterns in my area. So that was where I started. Then I made these meaningful content goals. And then I thought about the language I would need for the lesson. So it's kind of flipped around, but both are still there. So we can use tasks in content-oriented teaching, but we approach it from a different way. So you might know content-oriented teaching by another name. You might know it as CLIL or content and language integrated learning. So we have this kind of juggling act between the content and the language. Um, which one is being done right now? Of course, they go together. But in Austria, at the primary level, it's typically the content that drives the language. So I'll go back to the weather diary. I had these Sachunterricht goals, learning about the weather or learning about the capitals of Austria. So I had those Sachunterricht goals. I didn't necessarily have language goals. So that's typically how it's used in Austria. So for that, we'll have a look at this CLIL collection from the ÖSZ. It's also on the Padlet called Welcome to School. And we see here with these mascots, there is a math, science, art, sports, and music mascot. So we have using English in these different subjects. And one of the kind of overarching themes in this collection is road safety. And as we heard in the keynote, English is, or the foreign language is integrative in the first and second grades. So is road safety. So we're combining all of these things in one. So how can we do this? Well, if we take this example of playing red light, green light, we can see that there's a lot of content going on here, and we can learn this content in English without needing that much English. So if we see here, we're in the gym, in the Turnsaal, and we have here this traffic controller on the left side. And the traffic controller is looking at the wall, and the other kids are on the other side of the gym. So the traffic controller isn't looking at the wall and says, green light. Then the kids can start running towards the traffic controller. But when the traffic controller says red light, then the traffic controller turns around and sees, is anyone still moving? And if they are, they have to go back to the start line. So here we're working on the content goals of traffic, of road safety, reaction time, learning that red means stop, green means go. You can also use that vocabulary as well with stop or wait and go. You don't have to do red light, green light. So the content goals are what we're actually working on, and we can already do that with very little language. If we take this example, though, with music that I'd like to show you next, we see that we also have content goals. We have rhythm, we have body percussion, we have performing a song with actions. So those are content goals for music at the primary level. But we need more language for this lesson because of the language in the song. So because there's more language to be used, We need more scaffolding. We need more support. So we can do this by repeating. We can add actions to help support understanding, and we can present the language in a variety of ways. So let's see how that can happen. So I'm taking this from page 39 on in the Welcome to School collection. And we see at the beginning, we've got this body percussion call and response. So something that we often do in music, I do a body percussion and the kids copy me. So maybe I pat my chest 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and the kids go 1, 2, 3, right? Maybe I go 1, 2, 3, or maybe clapping 1, 2, 3, and the kids clap. Then I can make it a bit longer. So maybe 1, 2, 3, left, right, left. And then the kids copy 1, 2, 3, left, right, left. And so I'm already practicing the first 2 words I need, left, right, left, left, right, left. And we see here on the right side here, the words or the phrases that I need. So I need left, right, left, cross the street. So maybe you can walk through the room on your left foot and right foot. You can do the actions. You can say, look at me. Is there a car? Cross the street. So doing all these actions, you can also mix up the order, make a kind of game out of it. And then with that repetition, with the actions, with the variety that you're doing with the body percussion, then we can start to build the language that we need for that. And then, even if the kids can't yet sing the song completely, they can still participate because they're doing the actions with the song and they're still learning the content. Cross the street and look both ways. Is there a car? So they're still learning what they need to do. And on Vimeo, ÖSZ has an account with all of these songs, so super handy. And I'll just play that song for you so that you can hear it.
I look left, right, left. When I cross the street, I look left, right, left. Hey, look at me. Is there a car? Is there a car? When I cross the street, is it safe? Is it safe? Can you see me? I look left, right, left. When I cross the street, I look left, right, left. Hey, look at me.
Okay, and then it repeats so that everyone can sing it together again. So we see there that we have a lot of language going on, but with repetition, with using the actions, and with doing it in a variety of ways, we can achieve our content goals. So we're doing body percussion, we're doing call and response, we're singing and performing a song with actions, and we can do that in a foreign language, in English. If we look here as well, we've got another example. So the last example from the Welcome to School collection called What's in My School Bag? And this is from page 61 in the Welcome to School collection. So I will pull that up for us as well. So we see here, we've got your school bag, my school bag. And we'll see right away here that this requires a higher level of language. So this would be for the high flyers, perhaps. if they're, finished early or something, maybe they could do this together. So we have here, what's in my school bag? Maybe you show your own school bag. How many rulers have I got? How many rulers have you got? So we're exchanging this information with each other. And the kids could then show each other their own school bags, would be also communicative. But they can also do this activity here if you think that it's appropriate for them, if they can do it. Yeah. So we have here my school bag. So that's student A, version 1. And then I've got here student B. So this is my school bag. So student B has got 3 pencils. So that means student A would circle 3 pencils there. And then they would ask, how many glue sticks have you got? So student A has got 1 glue stick. So then student B would circle the glue sticks. And then at the end, they can count how many things have we got all together. So you can use the worksheet for this, or you can just use the children's real life school objects. And this kind of ties in to Sachunterricht. So this is the next lesson in this collection, where we're learning, what do we need at school? What school things do we need? What don't we need at school? So showing each other our real life backpacks, doing it on a worksheet if you want, if the kids would enjoy that challenge. But in total, we have these content goals. What do I need at school? What don't I need at school? So we see here as well a different version of the worksheet where the kids could also draw in what the other person has and then count it up together. So summing it up, using a foreign language in our other subjects, we give our kids the chance to learn content and language at the same time. So we have these content goals, and we also can learn language too. And if we can communicate and perhaps use some elements of task-based teaching, these can also be very effective in CLIL, very engaging, and increasing their motivation. So we're perfectly on time. We have enough time to have a nice look at the last section we've got today. Because we heard about these übergreifende Themen in the keynote, what can we do with them? So I'm looking here at this Verbraucherinnenbildung here, this consumer education. And I chose this book because it is quite a recent book. It's from 2020 by M.G. Leonard, illustrated by Daniel Reilly. And the book is about a toothbrush named Sammy, who goes on a very long trip because Sammy was thrown in the rubbish by his dear Sophia's mother. And Sammy goes on this trip around the world to these hot places, trying to get back to Sophia, who then is so happy that he has come home again. And she knows she can't clean her teeth with him anymore because he's dirty, but there are many other uses for him. And we have very gratefully received the permission from Twinkle to show some of their materials. So we could do, for example, the main vocabulary from the book beforehand. There is this word mat from Twinkle where you can work with the vocabulary beforehand. Then you can tell the story probably in a simpler way, so you can simplify the text. And then if your children are able, so everybody knows their class's capabilities and interests, you could have them write sentences if possible. You could write sentences together or maybe point out things you know about the pictures, put the pictures in order again, and tell that tale of Sammy the toothbrush of his way back. Um, we're also going to talk about assessment, about Beurteilung in the next part of this seminar. And creating dialogues is one possibility for assessment. So if the kids create the story again, perhaps with these stick puppets, of course, the teacher provides scaffolds and provides the language. This could be an option for the children to show what they know in English. Um, there are also some extension topics you could do because in the book it is it talks a lot about plastic, about the amount of plastic we use. So we could extend this to, and perhaps in science, you could also talk about this in German and do parts of it in English. So talking about what plastic do we use, could talk about any of the English words you know about that, but then maybe in German discuss, well, what can we do about it? What can we do differently? Um, yeah, so this reduce, reuse, recycle topic, that's very important at the primary level. You can also sort the rubbish into the different recycling boxes. And for this, I am thinking of some CLIL tips. Maybe you subscribe to the Join In magazine there or the Spatzenpost. They have these CLIL tips in the Liara service. And you can, so I'm taking this from the February 2025 one. So we see here some ideas, sorting the rubbish into glass, plastic and metal, organic and paper. You can take words that are similar in English and German. So perhaps the kids would know box, apple, banana, orange, aluminum, plastic, magazine, carton. A lot of the words are similar, so we can have that transfer going on there. Maybe a recycling wrap. So metal is no longer in blue, but it rhymes so nicely with two. But I've got some other words here that rhyme. So green and clean, or red and sad, and so on, making a kind of recycling wrap that would correspond with music lessons. Or perhaps this is a very well-liked activity to reuse rubbish items for art, and perhaps making some nature pictures with bottle caps or other things, I think could be a lot of fun for the kids. So if you weren't familiar with that resource, I wanted to share that with you today. Before we look at our final übergreifendes Thema. So we've got Verbraucherinnenbildung, and we've also got politische Bildung in the foreign language syllabus. So politische Bildung sounds like quite a big topic, but we could also think about classroom rules, living or working together in this community, working together democratically. What does that mean at the primary level? In the first grade, we can do this with classroom rules. So this is also from the Welcome to School collection from the ÖSZ. So how can we do this? Well, there are some pictures in the collection, like raise your hand, walk, things like this. Maybe we could teach it with a puppet. if we like to teach that way and kind of teach the puppet how to behave at school, how to work cooperatively with us, and the children could maybe help the puppet do it, or we could work with opposites. That's also a way we can teach at the primary level. So the difference between walking and running, raising our hand or shouting out. And then on page 16 in the Welcome to School collection, we can circle the behaviors that we need at school with a green pencil and the nose with red. So also some further ideas with these übergreifende Themen that I hope we can take with us into school. So that was it for today. Thank you for staying with me. I hope there were some nice ideas for you. And if there are any questions, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Um, yeah.